Hey there, guys. Jay here. We are going to go over a concept called masking today. So, you may have heard of masking, like masking tape, or even a Halloween mask. So, I have a Halloween mask here. Let's talk about what happens when you put on a mask. So, when I put this mask on, I am hiding this face. So, I'm hiding Jay, and I become the skeleton. So, I become a skeleton when I put the mask on, right? So it's basically hiding one thing, hiding this, and presenting or showing this. So I'm hiding one thing and showing something else. That's what masking is. Or in masking tape, for example, you might cover a part of your wall or a part of a picture with tape, and then when you paint over it, the paint doesn't go where the tape was. So when you peel the tape off, that part is still clean. So we are going to look at masking with Photoshop today. So let's get rid of my ugly mug. I'm going to give you guys this bedroom photo. So when you open it in Photoshop, you'll just have one layer. We're going to use this layers palette a lot today. Whoops, let me go back to it. If you do not have the layers palette, what you want to do is go to Window, Layers, and that will show different tools. So all these different tools, there's like a bunch of them in Photoshop. The only ones we're going to work with today is layers, and we also want the tools box checked. So layers and tools are the two ones we want checked. The tools is this section on the left over here, and the layers is this little section over here on the right. It might show up somewhere different for you. I keep mine on the bottom right, but when you turn it on, it might be floating around somewhere else. Okay, first up, let's talk about masking, like masking tape. So if I were to paint this room and I just made a new layer, so we have our bedroom layer, we're going to click this little plus sign down here and we're going to add a layer of paint on top of this room, okay? So we're going to use our paintbrush, make a big brush like 150, 160 for the size, and put the hardness all the way up. And now we're just going to paint over our room. But look at what's happening. We're painting on our windows and we're painting on our light switches and our vents. And your parents would not like if you painted your bedroom this way. Look, we ruined our window and we ruined all of our outlets. And our room looks horrible. And now we can't see outside. So if you push Control Z, we undo all of our painting. Down here, let's actually name this layer Paint. So everybody has their brush, our paintbrush here. Control Z. I also want you guys to just pick whatever color you want. So let's say I'm going to pick this like really cool green color. I'm going to paint my room green. So to start with, we can start painting our room. So let's paint our room. You can just drag the brush around. You can also make the brush bigger. Paint the room. You could also come up here to fill, edit, fill, and just fill the entire layer with paint. Okay, so that's a really, really quick way to do it is edit, fill. You can also see there's a shortcut. So if you push Shift F5, another shortcut is actually Alt Delete, and that will also do it. So when you click fill and it says foreground color, background color, that's what these two colors are down here. This one in front is the foreground, and this one in back is the background. And if you hit X, those two colors switch. The foreground and background color switch. If you hit this black and white, that just gives you solid black and solid white. Okay. Also, now since I've lost this color, if I want to re-select this exact green, I can use this little eyedropper tool. And now I have that exact same green. Okay, we have two layers. We have a paint layer, which I can turn on and off with this little eyeball, and we have a bedroom layer. So let's work on masking. So let's say our we want to get rid of the paint on the windows and on the outlets and all that stuff. So in real life, if you were to paint your bedroom, you'd have to go tape all of this stuff off. So you'd have to come in here and put little pieces of tape all over this stuff, right? Um, and then when you painted, it wouldn't show up on any of the. When you peeled the tape off, all these things would be clean. But in the digital world, we can actually do that after the fact. So we have our paint layer here, and what we are going to do is turn our opacity down a little bit so that we can see. Actually, let's just turn our opacity down to like 25. So we can kind of see through our paint here. We can see what's below it. And what we're going to do is click this layer mask tool. So it's this white rectangle with the black circle in it. Go ahead and click that. And now you can see we've added a second part to this layer. And what this is called is a layer mask. So you can draw on the layer or you can draw on the mask. Now the masks are super cool because if I paint black on the mask, so let me make my brush smaller. Wherever I paint black on the mask, I can see through it. And then if I paint white on the mask, I can't see through it anymore. So if you're thinking of it like the tape example, it's kind of like being able to control the tape very, very precisely. So I could say, I want to tape a circle right here. And then say, oh, well, I taped too much. So now let me just slice a little bit of that tape off right there. Oh, I need to put a little bit of extra tape there. So think of it as like a bunch of masking tape. But the other really cool part about it, so I'm going to turn this up just so we can see it more distinct. So what I've painted shows up a little more different than what's below it. So the other cool thing is you don't have to use hard brushes like this. So see how my edges are pretty hard, kind of like masking tape. Well, the other thing is I could make a soft brush, and then I have like a soft tape. So like you can't do this with masking tape. You can't make it like really soft like that where it's not a hard edge. The other thing I can do is say I want just part of the tape to be see-through. So I don't want it to be like solid tape. I want it to be like half tape. So that's the power of this masking layer. So what I'm going to do is undo all the stuff I just did. So Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. One other thing that's cool for undoing a bunch of stuff, there is a history window. And this keeps track of 50 different steps. So I can come back here, back to master opacity change. You can see I've used my 50 steps, so I can't go all the way back where I need to. So I'm just going to delete this layer mask and add another one. Or whoops, add another one here. So we're restarting over with our layer mask. So I'm going to put my paint layer back down to like 25. And then on my layer mask, instead of using a brush, so we could use a brush like we were just doing and we could paint our outlets and stuff. Oh, make sure you turn your opacity back up. So instead of using a brush, that's kind of annoying. We're going to use this selector tool. So I'm going to pick this rectangle selector tool. And then you could also zoom in if you need to. So Control plus or Control minus. Or you could also hold the Alt key and use your mouse wheel. And you can scroll in and out with your mouse wheel if you hold the Alt key. So we want to make sure our layer mask is selected. And I'm just going to put a rectangle around this thing and then paint it black. And then if I want to move somewhere else, I can hold the space bar and that brings up this little hand, or I could just zoom back out and then zoom in somewhere else. So navigating the canvas, there's a couple little tricks to that. So Alt zooming in and out, and then the hand where you hold space, that's also really, really helpful. I forget what this is called. I think it's called the Move tool. But we're just going to go through here, so I'm actually not going to zoom in like that. I'm going to scroll back out. I'm going to hide my history layer here. And what I'm going to do is just go around with this selector tool. And if you hold shift, you can actually select more than one thing at once. So I'm selecting one, hold shift, and then I can select another one. So I'm just going to go through this and select all the stuff I don't want covered in paint. So all my trim, all my vents, all my outlets, my window, I don't want to paint any of this stuff. And then on my layer mask, I am going to say edit, fill, and I want to use my foreground color. And now look what we have. We have successfully painted our room without ruining our outlets and our vents. And now I can turn this color back up or turn it back down. Another cool thing you can do is play with these layer styles. These kind of make it interact differently. Like I can see the texture of the wall through it now. Oh, that pink color is kind of cool. But another thing you can do if you leave it on normal mode, now that we have our mask set up, now we could actually come draw other stuff on the wall as well. So if I wanted to like draw a moon on the wall, I could do that. Okay, so moon. And I can draw on the wall, and now it's masked out. All right, isn't that cool? So that is one of the really cool things you can do with masking. It makes it way more powerful. So now we could also, if we take this brush and put our brush at 2000 and then pick like another color. So we're staying on our paint layer here. I'm going to pick a dark blue and zoom out a little bit with this brush that's 2000. And we could like make a gradient. And I'm actually going to make a darker gradient as well. Put this down to like 1000 now. Or 1000. So you can do all kinds of cool stuff with Photoshop and masks. And we could put stars on the ceiling or on the wall. We could put pictures on the wall. You could put posters on the wall. So you could play with like the generative fill. So if I wanted to put like a poster on the wall, I can put a poster and say like cool dog. And then maybe we put another poster on the wall over here and we say like cool moon. And so I just want you guys to decorate your room and paint it however you want. You could also do the trim. So we could also add trim. So if I wanted to add the trim colors, I could paint this trim a different color. If I selected the trim here, and I have this dark blue, I'm going to say edit fill. And I could color this trim, edit fill. Or again, Alt Delete will also do it. So now I'm starting to get a cool room. And then the trim, you could play with these layer styles and, you know, see if it looks better certain ways. Or maybe just turn it down so it's not just solid. Yeah, so decorate this room however you guys want. Paint it however you want. And then have your parents send me how you decorated your room. Yeah, this will be really cool. It should be really fun.